Happy MLK Day, AZ Wildcat fans. Damon and I have all of Tommy Lloyd's press conference breakdown and Oklahoma State preview, and we might argue a little bit in the last segment in our first edition of Buy or Sell. It's the AZ Wildcats Podcast in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere.
What's up, guys? Welcome into the AZ Wildcats Podcast. I'm your host, Damon Fairall, with my boy Kevin Thomas, as always, pressing the buttons, giving you rock solid analysis and just an energy you don't find anywhere else, Kevin. That's what you bring to the table, and that's to the show brings to the table. Happy Monday, Kevin. How are we feeling? Are we owning this fine Monday?
You know, we are indeed, Damon. Happy MLK Day to everyone at home. Happy National Championship Day as well to everyone who observes. And Damon, I'm excited for tomorrow's post game because it should be a positive one as Arizona goes off to face Oklahoma State tomorrow night at 7 p.m. But first, we have some words from the great Tommy Lloyd to break down, Damon, after that loss to Texas Tech.
Yeah, we do indeed. First off, Kevin, I did want to ask you on this fine MLK Day, did you treat yourself with a little Saturday neon sign?
I can't say that I did partake in my MLK Saturday neon sign. I couldn't find the right design. There were just too many good options.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Everybody out there, go look on SaturdayNeon.com. Go find yourself a nice little neon sign for MLK Day. Holiday season, that's what they call it. But yeah, as you mentioned, Kevin, we do have Tommy Lloyd following his Arizona's loss to Texas Tech, and just I guess all the kind of rundown of the bad play that happened in that game. You know, the Wildcats, especially the front court, didn't really show up in the way that they have been in recent games, and this wasn't necessarily the best game from Arizona's perspective. But a couple opportunities this week, Kevin, to get right. You have a game against Oklahoma State, and then following you have
Colorado.
A game up against Colorado, two of the lower teams in the Big 12 Conference, two games that on paper should be easy W's, you would assume, if this team plays to the level that they are capable of playing at. So should be a good week of post games, Kevin. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah,
it should be a fun week, Damon. We're going to talk a little bit more in a predictive way later if Arizona is going to win both of those games heading into that Iowa State matchup, which should be one of the more marquee matchups on this entire schedule, Damon. But we said we were going to talk a little bit about Tommy Lloyd before we get to that, and I was kind of surprised, Damon, by Tommy Lloyd's demeanor after the Texas Tech loss. He seemed pretty. What's the right term for it? Pretty at peace with the loss. And I'm not saying that it was a loss that should have him enraged by any means. It was a loss to a good team on the road in conference. We've talked ad nauseum about all the different ways in which Arizona, could have been challenged in that matchup, and they certainly were, Damon. And, there was one answer in particular that we'll get to that really kind of had me confused. But first, I think we should kind of dip into what Tommy Lloyd had to say immediately after the game and kind of the team's mindset, Damon, as they started this press conference here.
Obviously they're a really good program, and they played their tails off today, and it was a great environment. It's my first time to Lubbock, so I'm sure I'll be back here a few more times. So we're going to bounce back from this. We're not going to hang our heads. It comes when playing a tough conference. You play on the road, you're going to have some days like this, and we're not going to dwell on it. And we'll evaluate it and find ways we think we can improve. But it's onward and upward.
And yeah, I mean, you can't really, like he said, you can't dwell on this kind of a loss. It is a tough game on the road. So it's not like the end of the world. The sky is not falling in Tucson by any means, Damon. But
the sky falls in Tucson after every loss, Kevin. You know that. You know that as well as anybody. I mean, people have the audacity to call for Tommy's job for his first Big 12 loss of his entire career in our chat after the post game. Shout out KW, who, was raising some good points and things
really
there are things to be concerned about. But I again, moving on from Tommy Lloyd, crazy talk.
Wild.
But
that's a wild take.
That's the sky falling in Tucson for you.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you can see from that clip kind of what I was speaking to when I was saying he seemed kind of at peace with the loss. He didn't seem too frustrated by any one aspect of anything in particular in his brief 7.5-minute press conference. But one thing that I thought was interesting was the plan that Arizona went into the game with. Tommy spoke to, what made Texas Tech difficult to go up against, in addition to what the plan was in general against the Red Raiders.
In playing Texas Tech, I knew it was going to be a physical game, and I assumed it probably wasn't going to be a high-scoring game. And they did a good job. They did a job, and we were not going to be able to come and shoot 30-some% on the road and feel good about it and get you out rebounded in the teens. It's just not a winning formula. Well, they do a good job spacing the floor and they play with great effort on those situations. And you're forcing them to shoot some tough twos, and they missed a lot of them. I mean, the plan worked. But at the end of the day, you got to get the rebound. But, they also know they're going to shoot those shots, and they have two guys on the backside, and you maybe have a big coming over to help a little bit. So you end up kind of with 2 versus 1.5 on some of those rebounds because, if you probably look out on the backside on film, they probably got a great shooter that, one of your guys is a little tentative to leave. And, that's how it works. I mean, that's just it's a good scheme by them. And, and the way you combat it is you just got to get a little bit tougher. Our 4 men, who – are good players. I think, Trey Townsend and Carter Bryant, I don't know. They played quite a few minutes together tonight, and they didn't have enough rebounds. So, individually, hopefully they can pick that up.
Interesting there, Kevin.
A lot of interesting things there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tommy has a point there, right? Texas Tech as a team shoots 36.4% from the field. A number you love to see. If I told you that before the game, Kevin, as an Arizona fan, you would have said, sign me up for it. I think Arizona is going to win this basketball game, right? Force them into a lot of tough twos, like Tommy said. 26% from 3, which is pretty bad for this Texas Tech team, who has a guy like Chance McMillan, who's shooting almost damn near 50% from 3 right now. And, it wasn't a great game from an offensive perspective from Texas Tech's point of view, but it was those offensive rebounds that were just absolutely killer. The rebounds in general, I mean, Texas Tech out-rebounds Arizona by 16, but they double up the offensive rebounding numbers from Arizona's perspective, 16-8. And that was really, the difference in the game. Tommy specifically called out Carter Bryant and Trey Townsend right there. 2 guys, you're both of your power forwards, both of your 4s, and, they combined for 4 rebounds, Kevin.
Not good enough.
Combined for 4 rebounds.
That is not good enough.
Let me see here. Townsend played 23 minutes and Carter played 14 minutes. So you had 37 minutes played and you had 4 rebounds out of your 2 power forwards on the roster. Simply put, it's not good enough. And Toby Awaka, he got 14 rebounds, like good game for him from that perspective. But Henri Veesaar, he didn't get the job done either. 2 rebounds from him as well. So you got out of your 4 front court players, 3 of them are getting 2 rebounds in this game. Not a recipe for success if you're Arizona, especially a team that typically dominates the glass, typically is winning that rebounding battle. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but Toby Awaka, he was really the only guy that kind of did his part from a rebounding perspective in that game.
Yeah, and I think one of the more interesting things that Tommy said in that specific answer was simply the fact that the plan worked on defense specifically, and I think that, I think most of his plan worked, right? Because I think it's hard to say the plan worked when you get out rebounded in the teens.
Yeah.
Because that's never a part of the plan, I'm sure. So I feel like that, part of his plan worked. But even the tough twos, Arizona was making Texas Tech shoot a lot of tough shots. But Texas Tech was doing the same thing on the other end, Damon. In that game, Arizona shot 37.5% from 2, and Texas Tech 41% from 2. So both teams were making and taking some tough shots, but Arizona was missing more than Texas Tech was making. They only shot 3 more attempts than Arizona from the 2. So I think that, I think when Coach Lloyd goes back and looks at this game, I think he will realize that his plan works to an extent, but I think there were still some glaring issues specifically on the offensive boards. Well, I guess the defensive boards in Arizona's case, but But yeah, Damon, and the other interesting part about that at the end, where he mentioned that Trey Townsend and Carter Bryant played a lot of minutes together and didn't get any boards. I think that's it's interesting for the starter Bryant movement, Damon, but it's also I don't know if it's a pro stock or a down stock for the starter Bryant movement that he couldn't out rebound Trey Townsend when given the opportunity in this game.
We talk about it all the time, though, Kevin, and here's where the starter Bryant movement never will die. As long as Trey Townsend continues to hamper this basketball team's ability to, be good.
Yeah.
Like I simply put, if Carter Bryant could continue to struggle, I mean, he had a really good first half, right? Like he was the offensive engine in the first half, which was good to see as, from an Arizona perspective. You love that because Carter's a player that you want to see growth from throughout this season. And he feels like he continues, to kind of slowly develop, in this Tommy Lloyd system. But as long as Trey Townsend is actively hurting the team, starter Bryant will always be a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
And I'll never wave the white flag on that until I see Oakland Trey Townsend show up and start giving us some buckets.
Yeah. Which, I mean, honestly, we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a second, but I kind of want to talk about Trey Townsend because we want to talk about get right games. These next two could be some get right games for Trey Townsend specifically. You're going against two of the bottom teams in the conference, talent wise. Damon, I think that these are games where you look to a Trey Townsend and say, show me what you got. You know, show me that development that you've made in these tough matchups. If the developments are being made. But Damon, we talked a lot about Arizona's plan working, and the plan really fell through. Whatever the plan was really fell through in the last 5 minutes of the game. And Tommy Lloyd, and I didn't like this answer from Tommy Lloyd, and we'll get to that in a second, but Tommy Lloyd had this to say on what happened in the last 5 minutes of the game.
Well, I mean, listen, hey, we're right there. I mean, with 5 minutes to go, it's a 5-point game. I think even right before that, we had a couple of looks to tie it from three. I think Caleb had one. I think Delhi had one. And, you make one of those and maybe it changes. But, we didn't. We didn't. And then, sometimes it just kind of gets away from you. It goes from 5 to 8 real quick. And then, once you're looking at, a couple minutes in an 8-point game, I mean, it gets tough, and you miss another shot. They control the possession, they get free throws. It's kind of how you can extend a lead sometimes at the end of a game. And, I mean, I'll have to go back and watch it. But, they made a couple good shots, got a couple, we tried pressing. They called a quick touch foul, which they really hadn't called all game. That's tough because we weren't trying to foul. You want to see if your press can work for you. And I think that puts it from like 7 to 9. That's tough.
That's tough. I think that Tommy had made a lot of good points in that answer, Damon, about needing to go back and reevaluate and actually identify what went wrong during that 5-minute run. But the way he described it was so laissez-faire. It was so this is happening to us, not we're doing it to ourselves. Because I think, Damon, when Tommy Lloyd is talking about, we missed a couple tough threes, they made a couple tough shots, that's true. When he talks about they called a touch foul near the end of the game when we weren't trying to foul and they hadn't been calling that all game, that's probably also true. But I think it doesn't come down to that. Like when you don't score for the last 5 minutes, when you have no field goals in the last 5 minutes, it does not come down to just a couple of missed shots. It does not come down to the other team just making a couple of shots and then there being a touch foul. Mm-hmm. Like I understand that Arizona was hanging around and they were keeping in it. And if a couple shots did go their way, maybe things change. But I just didn't think there was enough urgency in that answer from Tommy Lloyd. Like I think that the problems facing the offense are a lot more glaring than his answer gave off. And maybe I'm being too critical, and maybe he did give that urgency behind the scenes, behind closed doors in the locker room, and was kind of calmed down by the time he got to the press conference table. But Damon, that answer to me, I don't want to be too crazy critical, but that answer to me was not good enough for the problems that this offense has had.
I'm with you. I think stuff like this is part of the reason that people get frustrated in this fan base with Tommy, right? Because it feels like it's like a little bit more of like a, kind of situation where it's a little bit too nice, right? Like frankly put, and people love the fire that Tommy showed after that UCF game, where Arizona almost choked away the lead again and, faltered down the stretch. That energy from Tommy Lloyd was not something that people were accustomed to, right? Like he brought a different flavor to that post-game presser. This one is a little bit more of what we are used to seeing from Tommy Lloyd. And it's who he is, and it's part of the reason that we love him, but it would be nice sometimes to hear a little bit more sense of urgency with things like that. But that being said, I think that you make a good point. He probably did say different things behind closed doors. He's just kind of an even-keeled guy, laid back. He's not gonna lose his mind in every post-game press conference loss. That UCF one was a win that he actually got mad at. So, interesting there. But yeah, I think in general, that's just who Tommy Lloyd is, right? And I don't take too much from that. I think he is more upset than he's leading on about that game. But I do think he did bring up a point that we talked about in our post-game show, Kevin. It was a 16-point loss, 70-54. On paper, obviously looks horrible, but Tommy made the points that we were saying after the game. There was multiple times where there's a wide open 3-pointer thrown out kicked out to somebody. They get the shot and it just doesn't go in the basket. It just didn't fall, right?
Yeah.
And that could have tied the game, put the game within 1, 2, maybe
silence the crowd,
yeah. Flip the momentum a little bit, and that shot just didn't fall for Arizona. And then started pressing a little bit more, jacking up threes when you're down about 8-9 points because you're trying to
get it all back at once.
And the lead is big at that point. You need to hit 3-pointers. So it just kind of all fell apart at the end of that game. I don't really take too much from the margin of loss there. But yeah, they just couldn't hit a big shot when they needed it, right?
Yeah.
We saw Delly miss a big shot. We saw Caleb Love miss a big shot. We saw KJ Lewis miss a big shot. All of these guys had open 3-pointers. Jaden Bradley, not on that 5-minute stretch, but I saw him miss 2 3-pointers that were wide open 3-pointers. And I know that's not his game, but you got to hit shots like those sometimes when you're
capable.
playing.
He's capable.
For sure. He hit a 3 in that game, but you're going to hit shots like that when you're playing good teams on the road, right?
Yeah.
And they just didn't do that in this game. Is what it is. Another thing they didn't do, we already touched on it, Kevin, is rebound. And part of that was Henri Veesaar, right?
Yeah.
Henri Veesaar didn't have a good game like we've been kind of used to seeing out of Henry recently on this stretch. And it really hurt Arizona. Let's see what Tommy Lloyd had to say about Henri Veesaar.
Henry's really been making progress, but I told Henry, you just can't assume. You don't show up, you don't score 19 last game, and to show up in the gym and score 21 today. Now you're on the scouting report, and you know what you got to do. You got to fight. You got to fight, and he wasn't great today, but he's trending in the right direction. And obviously there's always going to be a little bit of a regression to the mean, and now we got to figure out what his mean is. What is his mean? I don't know. We're going to find out. But that's part of player development. We're going to find out, where his sweet spot is as a player, and what we can consistently count on a nightly basis.
Damon, I thought the most interesting part about that answer was, obviously we're not going to panic. No one's going to panic about that performance out of Henri Veesaar. Yes, it was a disappointing performance, but we know that Henri Veesaar is still a work in progress to an extent, and he's still, gaining experience in every game. I thought the interesting part of that, though, that was most pertinent was Tommy Lloyd talking about, let's maybe see if this is a regression to the mean, right? Maybe Henri Veesaar isn't the player that he's looked like in spurts this year.
Yeah.
And maybe he's somewhere in the middle of, last game and his 19-point, monster dunks left and right, and then a block on the other end. And maybe that's just not a realistic pace to keep up. And I think that it's going to be interesting to continue to watch how Henri Veesaar handles struggles just as much as how he handles success this season.
Yeah, for sure. I love what Tommy said there. Don't take anything for granted. I think I mushed it. We talked about it on our post-game show. I think I said the exact phrase of I feel very comfortable what we're getting out of Henri Veesaar night in and night out at this point. And then he drops a 0 for 5, 0.2 rebound performance in his next game. Obviously horrific, right? That's a really, really bad game. But that being said, there's still development that needs to go on. I still think Henri Veesaar is his what he brings to this team is the ceiling of this team, him on the floor. And we've seen that in the last few games. Where I'm concerned, Kevin, is he has one bad game and this team loses, right? He's been playing really solid basketball across this stretch of winning streak that they went on. And then he has one bad game and this team loses. That, does that concern you at all? Does it feel like maybe this team is, I think it's a front court problem in general, really. But does it feel like, just based off of what we've seen from your perspective, that they need Henri Veesaar to show up night in and night out if this team wants to be successful?
That's a very interesting point. Honestly, I hadn't thought about it in that framework as of yet. And so when you put it like that, I kind of think that, no, I don't think the team needs Henri Veesaar to have great games in order to win. I think the team needs Henri Veesaar to contribute in order to win. So I think it's a diet version of what we thought the season was going to be with Caleb Love, where if Caleb doesn't go off for 28 to 33, then maybe Arizona loses.
Yeah.
But I think it's a tier below that, where I think if Veesaar is not getting 6-7 boards and a block and maybe 8 or 9 points, 8 or 9 plus points, then I think maybe Arizona might be in some trouble. I think the issue is if he's not actively and tenaciously rebounding, and if he's not aggressively trying to get to the rack on the offensive end. And Tommy Lloyd said it in that answer. He needs to fight. He has to show tenacity down low. And I think that's going to be something to watch the rest of the year. So I that's an interesting thing you say, Damon, and let's monitor that as we continue to watch this Arizona basketball team.
Definitely going to monitor that. I believe he missed a dunk in that game as well. So that just goes to show. I mean, he's 0 for 5 from the field. He went up hard on that basket, but I wonder if missing that dunk kind of deterred him and his aggressiveness moving forward in the rest of that game. I think that this team has kind of gone with Henry and his development so far because of just the lack of front court scoring and whatnot that this team unfortunately displays, right? Like if Trey Townsend's going to give you that night in and night out, which sadly he has since Big 12 play has started, and Carter Bryant's going to continue to be a raw up and down freshman, right? And then Toby Awaka is just not really a scorer. He's giving you defense, he's giving you rebounds, he's giving you physicality, but he's not really going to put it in the basket very much, So I think that's where the crux of this team's issues are going to come up when things are going bad. I know Caleb Love didn't have a good game, and he really hasn't had very many good games this season, but no. this front court is it can't be just like, it can't give you nothing.
Correct.
It can't give you nothing at all. You got to have somebody give you something. And I know Toby had 14 rebounds, but he only had 8 points as well. 2 for 5 from the field, shooting less than 50% from your your starting center. Like no one really gave you anything. Carter did nothing in the second half, literally didn't score a point. Literally. Like, so I think that this team just, you need that combo of 4 players to put up, they put up 18 in this game. I think you need 30 or 25 or something like that. Like you can't get such a lack of scoring.
And I think you said it about Tobe. I think you nailed it on the post game when you said, he had X amount of boards. What was it, 14 boards?
Yeah.
But then on the other end, JT Toppin had 17, 16. So it wasn't. It kind of canceled out almost. I know it's an insane game, and congratulations to Tobe for that performance. Like he's really showing development. He's almost not almost leading, but he's top 5 in the Big 12 in rebounds, right? He's top 3, something like that. So he's having a lot of development, and that's something encouraging to see. But when he has one of his best rebounding games, and then the front court as a whole allows JT Toppin to cancel that out with more boards than Tobe had, that's an issue. And Tommy Lloyd brought that up in his post fight. I was watching the UFC on Saturday. In his post game press conference, he brought up how the front court has to be better, and we're not going to get to that clip today, but we kind of already covered that. So, but Tommy Lloyd's well aware of where the bread of this team is going to be buttered this year, Damon, and it's in the front court.
Yeah, no doubt. And I just wanted to say real quick, we don't have this clip, but Tommy Lloyd did give Tobe a special shout out and say that he kept us in this game. Like
he said he was a beast.
Yeah, he did say he was a beast, and he said that he specifically kept Arizona in this basketball game with his rebounding, and that if they didn't have Toby Awaka, that they would have been getting absolutely murdered on the boards, which is
true,
100% true. So, I think that, we can kind of give credit where it's due from that perspective. Can't ask a guy to do much more than 14 rebounds. I know I talked about it kind of canceling out, but I'm not going to blame him for that. I'm going to blame the other guys for not doing their part.
He can't get 30 boards.
No. What are we? We're going to be like, Toby, you need to get 20, brother.
Pick up the slack.
Yeah, come on.
What are we doing out there?
Yeah, no, I don't expect that. But as we talked about, Caleb Love not having the best season right now. Struggled in this game. Didn't hit a big shot. Hasn't really felt like he's hit a big shot all season long, Kevin. I don't know about you, but it
can
seems
I say something maybe rude to cut you off?
Sure.
Hit
me. I love rude takes.
I think Caleb Love has had more air balls in the last 6 games than he's had big shots.
I thought you were going to say in his whole basketball career, which is probably true as well.
Damn. But yeah, no, it's tough. Like it's not been the performance that we even on the low side of what this season could have been predicted for Caleb Love, right? And that just kind of speaks to the caliber of player that he is, right? The high expectations that a player like Caleb Love garners, and Tommy Lloyd knows that. And one of the reporters at the post-game press conference asked him what his message to Caleb Love has been during these struggles, and this is what Tommy had to say.
Play better. I mean, Caleb's a good player. He's got to start playing better. He a couple games ago, he had 33 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, like one of the only guys ever to do it in college basketball. So he's just got to play better. I mean, he'll find his way. We're going to hang with him, and I know it's not coming easy sometimes for him, but he's a good player, and he'll play better. He'll play better for sure.
He'll play better for sure. Damon, I just wanted to bring up this fact that, everyone just heard Tommy Lloyd reference the game. He was talking about the game against TCU, where Caleb Love had 33 points, 5 for 11 from 3, 11 for 17 shooting, 7 boards, 7 turnovers, 2 steals, and 7 assists, no turnovers, 2 steals.
What a game, man.
That was one of the greatest games in D1 history for sure. It's on the long list of games. But, Damon, that game was almost a month ago. And I went and compiled the stats. Since that game, he's played in 5 games, 54 total points, 25% or less from 3 in 4 of the 5 games. And he shot 4 for 7 versus UCF. So that was the one outlier game there. Tommy Lloyd's right. How much more can he coach Caleb Love before it just turns into you have to play better? You're capable of playing better. Go do it. It's been such a mystery this season, Damon, as to what's going on with Caleb Love's offensive output, his production, his mercurial nature of just being up and down, somewhat unpredictable. But yeah, it kind of speaks to the position that Caleb Love has put Tommy in as a coach when he's referencing a game that was almost a month ago, 6 games ago, and that's what you have to hang on to as to why you think he's going to get it back. And like you and I said a month ago, probably now, Caleb Love is capable of finding it again. But the longer we wait, I think the more the hope wanes that it's going to happen.
Definitely. I was just about to say that. Like, I remember when we started this a month ago and, we did the TCU postgame. It was our first postgame show, right? Caleb Love scores 33 points and we're sitting there and we're like,
he's so back.
This podcast might have saved Caleb Love, right? I almost said Kevin Love.
Yeah. Maybe it saved Kevin Love too.
This team could really use Kevin Love, by the way, and his rebounding prowess.
Vibes, oh my goodness.
Yeah, but I think we were probably taking a little bit of a victory lap there, Kevin. We knew Caleb Love was back. He came off a 24, 23-point night right before those games back to back. And it felt like Caleb Love was like finding his footing again. Since then, he's gone 12, 9, 16, 8, and 9 points. He has shot sub 30% from the field in 4 of those 5 games.
Ugh.
I'm not talking 35%, 38%. I'm talking 30% and below. 4 of 5 games. I mean, it's really, really bad, and just not at all what we need from, the guy with the best scoring chops on this entire roster. So yeah, you got to have him. You got to have him play better than that. Tommy believes in him. Hopefully, he figures it out. I believe in some of these sponsors we got to talk about, Kevin, because they're fine folks and we love them. So let's talk about it right now on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Well, Damon, one thing I know for sure is that if you're playing basketball at a high level after the game, you probably stank.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And one way to fix that would be with our friends over at Mando. You see that at the bottom of the screen, $5 off a starter pack when you use code PHNX. Damon and I are just $1 away from being able to split our own starter pack. I have not used deodorant since we started the fundraiser, so please save everyone in the office.
Yeah, guys, it's getting real bad in here.
It's real bad.
It's musty.
I actually don't know how Damon's sitting so close to me in proximity. I feel it's like the episode of SpongeBob where he's just, hi, Damon. But yeah.
Hi, Kevin.
But yeah, everyone, make sure to use Mando. It is a whole body deodorant, Damon. That means it can go on your pits, your butt, your balls, your belly button, your neck rolls, your behind the ear, whatever you want to call it. It can go literally everywhere.
Everywhere.
The solid stick deodorant is also in that starter pack, in addition to the cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off that starter pack that I just brought up with our new exclusive code PHNX. That equates to over 40% off of that starter pack with shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence head to toe with Mando.
I'll tell you what boosts my confidence, Kevin. When I head on over to Gila River Resorts and Casinos, I hop on some table games and I win some damn money because I love winning money. I love gambling, and I love doing it with our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. My favorite location is, of course, the Wild Horse Pass location. You guys know that, but they got 3 other ones as well. Lone Butte, Vikiva, as well as Santan Mountain. Gonna want to check out all of those locations as well. But Wild Horse Pass, that's where they're doing the giveaway for the Lamborghini Lux, Kevin. It's a $350,000 car. Rev your engine up every Friday, every Friday in January and February. They're doing drawings. The grand prize of this Lamborghini is going to happen on March 1st at Wild Horse Pass. And of course, it's going to be at 7 p.m. On these Fridays. One lucky winner is going to drive away in that Lambo straight out the casino. Just revving it up on the freeway, letting it sing a little bit. I mean, how could that sounds like the kind of life I want to live, Kevin. So don't miss your chance at that.
Don't we all?
Tons of winnings to go down at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Tons of options for dining, anything that you want to do. Staycation, best place to do it in the Valley. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Play at Gila.com for more details, or check out the link in the description below. All right, Kevin. Well, we do have a big game against Oklahoma State coming up here.
You could call it a big game, I guess.
I mean, well, I'd say it's big in the fact that if they lose, it's like might as well disband the program, right?
I think it's only. I know this sounds kind of silly, but I almost think it's only a big game if they lose, right? Like the expected outcome is a sizable victory. I think this game coming into it doesn't feel like a huge deal. It feels like a big deal if they go out and lose. Then it feels like, okay, maybe we're not so back like we thought we were. But I think the expectation should be a large victory in this game. But let's talk about our opponent in this game, Damon. Mm-hmm. We have some stats to show you here of our opponents, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Damon.
I got it right this time, by the way. I double-checked.
There you go. Let's go.
I'm locked in on these graphics from here on forth, Kevin.
Damon, what stands out to you about these stats?
Yeah, just looking at Oklahoma State, they, of course, are 10-7, 2-4 in conference. Good for, I believe, 4th to last place in the Big 12. They have an offensive rating 106.9, 170th in the country out of 367 teams, I believe. Maybe 364. I'm forgetting that total number there. You get the gist, though. Defensive rating a little bit better, 92nd in the country. They do play a pretty fast tempo for a Big 12 basketball team, and their strength of schedule is 75th. I think this is just a team that Arizona needs to beat, frankly. That's kind of what I take away from that. Like, there's really nothing that stands out there too much, right? They play pretty fast, which I think plays into Arizona's hands a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Arizona, another team that kind of likes to speed it up. Arizona 52nd in the country in tempo, so they're sitting right around that same range. So it's not going to be that battle of contrasting styles like we've seen in a lot of these games recently, like a Texas Tech, what was the game before that? We played a slow team as well.
You're talking about
Baylor.
Yeah, Baylor was.
Yeah, Baylor's a slow team as well. So I think that this is going to play into Arizona's hands a little bit more from that perspective. And I just think that Arizona is just kind of plain better than Oklahoma State. Not so easy place to play. They have good fan support. But yeah, not a team that really concerns me too much. Kevin, what about you? What say you?
You're right there with it, Damon. You hear me say this all the time when we're doing show prep. Like, what's something smart I can say about this game, about this team, right? I don't got much for Oklahoma State, man. Like you said, like this is just a game that Arizona needs to go out there and handle their business, right? This is not. Like this should not be some super complex scout, at least from a fan's perspective. I'm sure it gets a little complex when you're a coach doing it, but from a fan's perspective, this scout is as simple as it can be. Like Oklahoma State bad, Arizona good. But to be a little bit less simplistic, Damon, I think that this is a game where the front court should be able to quote unquote get right.
Love that.
Like this is a game where now they do have one player that's 6'10" or above. That's Abou Ousmane, who leads them in points. He leads them in rebounds. He also leads them in blocks as well, Damon.
Only 12.7 points per game, though. Like especially for playing that quick of a tempo, they don't really have the high scores that you would expect, right? Like,
well, do you want to know why that is, Damon?
Because they're not very good.
Yes, that's they're not very good at shooting the ball because their effective field goal percent is 54.5, which is 321st in the nation. Is that good, Damon?
No, that is in fact not good.
Oh, okay.
That is out of 364, by the way.
Yeah. So they're like, this is a team that they might get some open looks, but they're not going to hit them. And I think that Arizona's front court should be able to, like I said, get right in this one. They are an undersized front court as well. They have no 7-footers that play legitimate minutes. And yeah, Damon, this should be a get right spot for the Wildcats.
Yeah, you'd love to see that. I'm looking here at their 3-point makes. They're guys that are their better 3-point shooters are shooting in the low 30% from the 3-point line, and they basically have about 4 dudes who actually hit 3-pointers on a consistent basis. None of them exceptional at shooting from the field, like a Chance McMillan, for example. So yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State on paper is definitely one of the weaker teams in this conference. You look at their resume a little bit more, and they beat Colorado, who Arizona has coming up on Saturday, and should be another win for the Wildcats, right? They beat Kansas State at home by 3 points. Kansas State, a decent team, but they have losses to BYU, Utah, West Virginia, Houston, like the
Oklahoma and Nevada.
We share that Oklahoma loss on our resume together,
yes.
But you have in here like notable win Miami. Miami's garbage.
I just said that was notable because it's in a neutral site early invitational.
I'm more saying it goes to show that's one of their better wins is a really, really bad bottom feeder in the ACC Miami team. Like that's not exactly what you would call a good win. You know what I mean? It's kind of an average win because it is a Power 5 team, but not one that is scary by any stretch of the imagination. Notable losses, Nevada, Oklahoma, Houston, West Virginia, as you say, Kevin. Just overall, not the resume of a what you'd consider a team that is like gonna inject any fear into you. And a team that Arizona should absolutely handle business with.
Yeah, and I think that one interesting note here, and we know that Arizona is one of the top 25 teams in the country for sure. It's just about them making their way back into the rankings, right, Damon?
Yep.
They're currently 16th in KenPom, however, and I wanted to make note that Oklahoma State has played 4 top 50 KenPom teams this season. They've scored less than 70 in all 4 matchups and scored 50 or fewer in 2 of those matchups, coming against both Houston and West Virginia, Damon. So this is the team that Arizona should hold to, like in that like high 60s, low 60s, like in the 60s. I'm seeing for this matchup, Damon, because I don't quite think. I mean, I guess if West Virginia can hold them to 50 or fewer, then I think Arizona is should be able to do that as well. But the point is, I'm agreeing with you. This is a team that Arizona should handle, hold their feet to the fire and really never let Oklahoma State get going, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. Got to just like kind of, this is one of those games where it's like, don't play down to your competition level, right? Like
1,000%.
Show everybody that, this is a team that is serious about winning the Big 12 conference. And that doesn't happen when you play, when you get yourself in dogfight 40-minute games with Oklahoma State and Colorado, right? Like those are both teams in this week that I think both of us want to see double-digit W's in. Like, I don't think there's any question about that in the world. That's what Arizona fans probably should expect. And for a guy like a Caleb Love, who hasn't been playing very good basketball recently, this is your opportunity to play against some teams that, you're frankly a lot better than, right?
Yeah.
These are those get right opportunities. I'd love to see Caleb Love go out and average 25 over these next 2 games. So yeah, that's kind of what I'll be monitoring. Kevin, you mentioned it. I wanted to just kind of bring it up real quick because I didn't look at it before the show for some reason, but Arizona, again, not in the top 25.
Yeah.
Actually lower this week by quite a bit than we were last week. I think effectively last week they were 27th. I think they were third in votes, other votes received. Now they are 7th in others receiving votes. So that would put you at about 32nd in the country if you had to make a call there. Not really. I don't really agree with that, Kevin. We talked about it a little bit in our postgame show. And I mentioned that I think these people on the East Coast and in the Midwest and whatnot are just going to look at that score and go, oh, 16-point loss to Texas Tech. What a blowout.
Yeah.
And turn around and be like, and punish Arizona for it when everyone who watched the game knew that it was a battle for, 35 minutes, 36 minutes of that game before it really got away from them at the end. And Texas Tech is actually, they have them at 26th with the most votes received of a team that didn't make the top 25. But I think Arizona gets a little disrespected there, getting dropped that far, because we talked about it, Kevin, like even if they lost one of those games this week to Baylor or to Texas Tech, we still believe that this is a top 25 team in the country. Yeah. Those are good basketball teams that we're talking about in Baylor and Texas Tech. Like, teams that I also believe are probably two of the 25 best teams in the country. So I know that, the Big 12 is a war of attrition and, you're going to lose basketball games, but I do feel like that there's a little bit more credit that's due to Arizona's way there on that, from that voting perspective. And people that are not watching Arizona play basketball are sitting there going, yeah, they got blown out by Texas Tech. Might as well, drop them down for that.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this in an earlier episode of one of our live shows as well, Damon. But you and I know it. Everyone at home knows that Arizona is a top 25 team in the nation. But the problem is, and Jason in the chat kind of resonates with this sentiment, I'm sure, to an extent of, there's a point to where you are what your record is, right? Like, and that's unfortunate for Arizona because we know that they're better than their record is, but that's their record, right? And so when you're ranking these teams, and to your point, you're looking at the results of these games. The 16 points is what they are. That's what you lost by, and that's who you are that day. Like, and that's unfortunate because we are watching these games, and we do know that Arizona showed better than that. But in the end, that's what it was. And so I think that the rankings are wrong, but I do understand where they're coming from to an extent. Because if Texas Tech, like, I guess you can't. I guess if they're gonna have Texas Tech where they have them, you can't have Arizona higher than Texas Tech if that's your logic. So I
don't believe that. I guess what I was trying to say was not that they belong in the top 25, more so that I don't think they should drop from 27 to 32 because they lost a game that was fairly close to a really good game for almost the entirety of it, right? Like, that Arizona easily could have won that game if a couple of those open three-pointers fall in that stretch, and they just couldn't make a shot. They didn't deserve to win because of it. There's no doubt about that, but I just don't believe that they deserve to be punished necessarily like they were in this poll, because it was exactly how I feel like I predicted it was going to play out, which is people didn't actually watch. They just started scoreboard watching, which is, I understand you can't watch every college basketball game across the nation in a weekend, but Arizona Texas Tech does feel like a pretty important one. I'd love for people to at least be a little bit more informed about what's going on their televisions or just in the world around them before they're voting on these type of things. But Arizona's going to have plenty of opportunity to get back in this top 25 the rest of the way. Nothing to really be, too upset about. I just thought it was an interesting talking point. We got a little bit more to talk about, Kevin, but we're going to first talk about a few more of our fine sponsors here.
Yeah, Damon, and one of our finest sponsors.
Probably your favorite.
Probably my favorite. Our friends over at Colt Cannabis. They're partnering with our other friends over at True Leave, one of the best dispensaries in the nation that just happens to be home here to the Valley, Damon. Our friends at Colt Cannabis have dropped that new magic marker that's exclusive to True Leave locations. The newest True Leave location just opened up in Maricopa on January 11th, so if you're out in that neck of the woods, make sure to go check that out. Colt Cannabis, Damon, they have the highest level of premium flower that you can find for reasonable prices as well. They throw some deals all the time. They just ran a promotion a couple weeks back to give you some 14-gram small bags. So look out for the next sale from Colt Cannabis. But if you do make your way over to True Lead, make sure to let them know that Kevin and Damon from the AZ Wildcats podcast sent you.
Nothing goes better with a little bit of True Leaf and Colt Cannabis than a nice trip and stop with our friends over at Circle K. The People's Gas Station, Circle K. Sign up for the Inner Circle right now. 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. 3 cents off per gallon every fill-up after that until you become a premium member. Then you get that 5 cents off per gallon like me, like Kevin, like everybody here at PHNX. We love our friends at Circle K. Best snacks, best deals on energy drinks, alcohol, anything that you could find. And of course, like I said, great combo with our friends over at Colt Cannabis. Just show up, go to the snack bin, grab it, get the munchies, grab everything you want. Circle K's got it all, Kevin.
They do.
It's just the best spot to possibly, it's just the best convenience store. You know what I mean?
It really is.
Nothing like a good old Circle K, like a desert oasis. Sometimes it just like the light shines on Circle K when you're needing gas, when you're needing anything really. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Kevin, we are 46 minutes into the show almost, I believe.
Yes.
And we have not told you to hit the like button. And that's ridiculous, and that's on us.
I knew there was a reason I had that nightmare last night, Damon.
Yeah.
I knew it.
I know. So please do that for Kevin. Kevin hasn't been getting good sleep because of these like numbers recently. I worry about the guy. That's really all I have to say. I really, really do. But you could help that. It's that simple. This is
all in your hands. My sleep is in your hands. But Damon, real quickly, while they're making their way over to the like button, I'm going to give everyone a quick little reminder of some Arizona basketball history. The last time.
See, this is the thing is like, and this is interesting, Kevin, but like you're about to really, really bring up some bad memories from some Arizona fans, man.
I am, but it's relevant to the team we're playing tomorrow, and I feel like, I got to bring it up.
All of it is fun until we get to the last point that you have written down here.
We just don't got to mention that part. We just don't got to mention the result of this season. We can mention this one isolated game in the 2005 NCAA tournament in the Chicago Regional where Arizona beat Oklahoma State by just 1 point.
Owns Oklahoma State, I think you meant to say.
Yeah. That's pretty much the transitive property of what it means. That's the great example of math at work right there.
It's pretty crazy that's the last time they played, right?
Yeah, no, 2005. Damon, just for reference, do you know where the Final Four was played that year?
I do not. Kevin, hit me.
St. Louis, Missouri, Damon. The arch.
Wow.
The arch was in the logo. It looks awesome.
Why is that notable?
It's just where I'm from.
You're from St. Louis?
Yeah, I try to keep it on the DL. I try to really hide it.
Didn't know.
But yeah, Hassan Adams. That was the game where he had 4 from 3 and 2 blocks. Channing Frye balled out with 3 blocks, 15 points. The double with 10 boards as well. Salim Stoudemire, quick hands, 3 steals, 7 assists, 19 points. And Damon, we're just gonna leave that one there. That was a good result. And that's all that happened.
I'll tell you right now, Kevin, that's like my first memory of Arizona basketball that season, pretty much. I believe I was like 5 years old when that was ongoing, maybe 6.
Mm-hmm.
Man, does that stir up some bad memories?
Yeah, it does. It does.
That team should have won the national championship. Salim Stoudemire was the best scorer in college basketball. Channing Frye played a 15-year NBA career. Hassan Adams was absolutely electric in college. The 2004-2005 Arizona squad, it is absolutely brutal that team didn't take it home because they absolutely had the ability to. Ivan Radenovich was awesome at the power forward.
I love that name
Mustafa Shakur was a great point guard for this team for a while. Got a little bit of an underwhelming career, but as a sophomore, he was pretty solid and had a ton of hype coming in. Jawan McClellan, like Chris Rogers, man, this team was good, man.
It wasn't all bad memories, That's why I bring these things up.
It's the most horrific choke job. The next game, I believe.
See, that's why I say we could just leave that part out.
Did that happen in the Sweet 16?
I do believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do believe so. Well, no, it was the choke was in the Elite Eight, I believe, because it was a chance to go to the Final Four.
Well, the choke was. Yeah, I'm talking about the Oklahoma
State game was in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, it was the game prior to that Illinois game, that the vaunted Illinois game that everybody remembers. They had Darren Williams on that team. Really, really good Illinois basketball team. But just when you're up like 15 points, you can't lose that basketball game.
No, you can't.
And that team, that should be our last Final Four. That team should be our last Final Four. But unfortunately, we're still waiting on that. Not 100%, Erica. Nothing moves me less than a Sweet 16. That is, can we put that on a quote graphic? Because it's so true.
Yeah.
How many Sweet 16s have I seen in my damn life? I'm done. I'm done with the Sweet 16s. An Elite Eight moves me. I mean, I've seen a couple of them, but like, I'd go into that nervous. A Sweet 16, I go into it and I'm like, cool, man. We're either gonna lose and I'm gonna be pissed, or we're gonna win and I'm gonna,
be like, all right,
cool, man.
Let's get to the Elite Eight
we
now.
made it to where we should be. Whatever. And just bad memories. We gotta beat this streak at some point, Kevin. We got to do it on this podcast.
This podcast is going to do it, Damon. This podcast is going to break the streak.
I want to save this program with this podcast more than I've ever wanted anything in my entire life. I was talking with my dad on the phone the other day, Kevin, and I was like, can you imagine if we took over in the middle of this season and then they cut down the nets? Man, that would be special. I think I'd cry, genuinely.
Yeah, you would be moved, literally.
I think you're going to need like a video of me. I'm going to be no Sean Moreno while the national anthem is playing, just tears streaming down my eyes. I mean, I've never seen anybody cry like that in my entire life.
That was awesome.
That's how I would cry in that moment.
Damon, we have, do you have something new, something brand new to debut here today? We have a new segment, live.
Brand spanking new.
Debut. Buy or sell, Damon. Let's buy or sell some topics here on the first iteration of buy or sell. And Damon, today, for those unfamiliar, we're just going to discuss some topics and buy or sell the answers to those topics. And our first question or topic today is going to be Arizona basketball will defeat Oklahoma State by 10 or more points tomorrow night. Damon, as you can see on the screen, we're both buying this. What has you buying the Cats getting it done by 10 and plus?
I just think that Arizona needs this game. That you can't. We've talked about it. This is somewhat of a must win, somewhat of a can't lose.
Some might say can't lose.
Embrace debate. People are talking about that, and I think that this is just Oklahoma State's just not a great basketball team. They're not even really good. Like they're maybe they're average and they play in a tough conference and it makes them look bad, but
that's probably what it is.
They're one of the bottom feeders of this conference. Arizona hypothetically should be competing for a chance to win the Big 12. And in order to do so, you need to take care of business versus teams like this. It is a road game. Like I said, Stillwater, not an easy place to play. Good fan environment, but I think ultimately this team is going to need a get-right game after a loss. I don't see them losing 2 in a row. Tommy teams don't lose 2 in a row, frankly. And this is a game I expect to win by 10 plus.
I'm with you on everything you just said, Damon. I think if Arizona, we've said this on multiple games this year, but if Arizona is the team we think Arizona is, this should be a game that they win by 10 plus points somewhat simply to an extent from a fan's perspective. And I agree with everything that you had to say about I think Oklahoma State is probably just above or just about an average to maybe slightly above average team that plays in the hardest conference in the nation. I think if you move them to a different conference, maybe they're in that slightly above the middle of the table, something like that. But yeah, this is a game that Arizona should win and win easily. Topic number 2, Damon, is going to be Arizona basketball will be on a 3-game win streak when they take on Arizona State February 1st. We've talked about 2 of those games a little bit, Oklahoma State and Colorado. That third game,
dub.
It's at home, Damon. It's at home, Iowa State. Damon is selling that Arizona will be on a 3-game win streak. Why is that, Damon?
I just think Iowa State is really, really good. Maybe they are due for a loss, Kevin. I think that is totally a fair statement. McKeel Center is an unbelievably hard place to play. And that's a true road environment. But, I just think that you got to find losses somewhere on this schedule in the Big 12 because it's such a tough conference top to bottom. You're not going to win every game. We kind of disagreed on Texas Tech when we were running through it in, I believe, 2 weeks ago, kind of the rest of the way. And I predicted that game right. I predicted a win against Baylor, a loss against Tech right after that. And I think I had Iowa State as a loss down when we were doing that, Kevin. So I'm going to stick with my chops because I feel like I've been right now. And I think, maybe I'll continue to be right, but I do hope I'm wrong. Why are you buying?
Yeah, no, I absolutely hate that you've been right so far on all your predictions this year. But I think, I'm going to stick to my guns here, Damon. I'm going to stick to my guns and just say Arizona can't lose at McHale, man. It's not acceptable. Arizona basketball does not lose at home, and that trend will continue. We're going to forget about Duke.
I love the guts, man. I will say that
against Iowa State.
I will say that, Kevin. I love the guts.
I put myself out there on the plank, man.
When you show up, and it juices me up a little bit when you're like McHale Center, like defend the wall. Like this is what we do. Hold the goddamn line.
It's the Alamo. You lose on the road.
Yeah.
You had better come home and defend the Alamo. Fall back. And that's what we're gonna have.
I'm all about that.
I think it's gonna be a 3-game win streak when Arizona State gets defeated by the Arizona Wildcats, and that's going to turn into a 4-game win streak, Damon. And then who knows what can happen because 17-3 is still in play. They haven't lost 3 games or 4 games yet in the conference, so 17-3 is still in play, Damon. Topic number 3.
This is gonna hurt Erica.
Erica,
close your eyes. Earmuffs and
see no evil, hear no evil, speak no
blindfold.
evil. Erica,
yeah.
Is Arizona women's basketball back after defeating Kansas 74-59 yesterday? Damon, Arizona women's basketball probably played its most disciplined half in one of the halves of their most recent game, which is props to them. But keeping it short here because we have a hard out here today, a little pull back the curtain. So, but yeah, short story short, no, they're not back. And hosting a tournament game is probably completely out of the question.
Oh, certainly, I would say that. You lose to Kansas State right before that on the road trip, and you put up 47 points in that game, 58 the game before that against Iowa State. Just 48 against Utah earlier in the season. This team just struggles with scoring, right? And that's what Adia Barnes' teams do. They're not great putting the ball in the hoop.
Nope, that's how you win basketball games, Damon. That's literally the name of the game.
Yeah,
basketball.
I think more so. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but hosting a game, I don't think that's on the table at all.
No,
I just think we need to worry about making the tournament.
Yeah, it's completely out. Also, shout out to Wilberforce in the chat that reminds us that almost everyone dies defending the Alamo. So maybe McHale should not be the Alamo, Damon.
But the point is more, Wilberforce, that we're willing to go down with our ship there.
Yeah, that's the point. The Arizona needs to fight and defend McHale as if it was the last stand.
We'll stop defending McHale when you pry it from our cold dead hands.
That's literally what we're trying to say.
That's how I think Kevin's trying to portray it. We got next topic here, Kevin, and it is about the big game in the national championship tonight. Kevin taking Notre Dame.
I am.
Me taking Ohio State. Kind of nice how it played out with the blue and the red.
Right? I thought that was awesome. Shout out to our guy Noah.
Kind of electric there.
Yeah, that was sick. Yeah.
Noah making just an absolutely killer graphic for us as always.
The man's incredible.
But who are you taking tonight, Kevin? Why are you taking Notre Dame?
So I think Ohio State is the more talented football team. I'm terrified of Jeremiah Smith. I'm not terrified of Will Howard at all. But I think I've bet against Marcus Freeman and lost doing that so many times. And he's one of my favorite coaches in the country. And so I'm like, what am I doing? At some point, it's like, what's my mission statement here? And it needs to be support Marcus Freeman at all costs. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm back in Notre Dame. And yeah, you can find me and Shane Gillis in the chapel.
I prefer Notre Dame to win. There's no question about that. I just think that Oklahoma State's more talented. I think Notre Dame loses these big games every time that they play them. And yeah, I just not buying Riley Leonard in a championship game. I think Oklahoma State's too good. Last one, Kevin. We are doing a takeover, Arizona versus Arizona State. Will there be more U of A fans than ASU fans at our PHNX takeover
1,000%.
on February 1st? We're both buying because we have the best basketball fans in the country. It's not even close. Come kick it with us. Presented by Branded Bills. We're doing a takeover plus a pregame party February 1st, Arizona versus Arizona State. It is up here in Phoenix. Going to be a good time. 11 a.m. game. McHale North, come take it over with us. It's going to be a good time. Arizona fans, show up. Let's chant U of A in the building.
U of A, U of A. Just like Joe Salvea on the sidelines of that Territorial Cup game. Bring that energy to this takeover. Make sure not to miss it. And Damon, Thanks to everyone in the chat for not missing today's show.
Yeah.
It was a fun one. Got to do the buy or sell for the first time. That's fun and exciting, Damon. And tomorrow we'll be here for a post game, so to make sure to not miss that. Damon, what you got for us before we get out of here?
Yeah, make sure you check out our post game show. Make sure you guys check out Suns pregame show. It's about to go live right now. The Suns play the Cavs. It's going to be a huge game. Starting at 1:30 tip-off, but they're going pregame right after this. I am at Damon Dog. That's Damon, D-A-W-G. That is at Kevo Post, K-E-V-O-P-O-S-T-S. We are at PHNX_Wildcats on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow the main account. And as always, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and we will catch you next time. Bear down.
Go Cats.
We all silly like the mayor.